Hello, hello, hello. My name is David, and thank you very much for your presence. Thank you very much for being here, and welcome, welcome, welcome. And now, what I want to do is give you a very quick introduction to the Conscious Entrepreneur's Triangle of Execution and explain to you on a big picture level. So, we're not going to go into detail, big picture level, what it is and what it can do for you, your business, and your life. This is very exciting. I'm very excited about this. So now what I've done is I've doodled a few things and I'm going to switch over to those doodles and use that to explain the rest of everything. So thank you. Now let's switch over. Right. So to start off with this welcome and introduction to this triangle of execution, I would like us to start at the most basic level of business or the most basic level of entrepreneurship. And please let's go along with this. I know it's looks too simplistic at the moment, and I can assure you that if at all, let's say you've been in business for a few years, you are not in a beginner's course. So although this little screen looks very simple, we're just setting up the problem. Okay, so please bear with it. I know it looks superficially simple. Um, but you're going to get value even if you've been in business for several years. And if you're absolutely new to business, let's say you're what they call a wanapreneur or you're a solopreneur, this will still apply. Okay. So having got that out of the way, the fact that it looks very simple, the little doodle that I've done for you right in front of you, yeah, of your screen right now, let's carry on with the meat and potatoes of this particular video. Now, the basic idea of a transaction is that you, the entrepreneur, finds somebody. We shall call them a client, but you can call them a customer. I prefer to think of them as a business friend, but let's call them a client. You find a client who has a problem, okay? A kind of problem that you have the ability to solve for them, either through your products or your services or whatever, okay? So they bring you a problem, and along with the problem, they bring you some money, you know, in exchange for your solution to their problem. So you come in with a solution which is called value, and you're giving them value because you're solving their problem, and they come in with some money to reward you or compensate you. That's basic, right? That's the basic idea of business, and you'd think it should be simple, isn't it? Because that's what it is basically. Now, the problem is there's a whole lot of other stuff that comes in and throws monkey wrenches into this little simple diagram. For example, and we'll look at this in a bit more detail in the next slide, the entrepreneur could have all sorts of personal issues going on within themselves. Emotional issues are the number one thing that could come and, mess up this whole program. Um, the client may not trust the entrepreneur. You may not know who your client is. A whole bunch of things. So this is what the triangle of execution solves. It tries to remove every single obstacle, or it attempts, or it gives you, rather, let's put it this way, those are the wrong words. It doesn't try, it doesn't attempt. It gives you recipes, proven recipes that will clean up anything that comes against the simplicity of this transaction model that you're seeing right here. Okay, so let's get into those complications so you can understand what they are. In other words, the complications that an entrepreneur like you would face and how this triangle of execution can solve those complications. So the first level of complication that you're going to find out, that you're going to face as an entrepreneur, is that you will find that you don't know who your client is. So a lot of beginners, especially beginner entrepreneurs, and sometimes even people who've been in business for a few years, they will come and say to you, "Oh, my client is everybody. Everybody needs what I've got." You know, the minute somebody says everybody needs what I've got, you know they're gonna have a lot of problems in their marketing, a lot of problems in, their messaging, in their packaging of their products and services. They're gonna have a hell of a lot of problems, and they're gonna be broke because of it. So knowing exactly who your client is at such a very, very granular detail level. For example, you could say, my client, I help single fathers who are, CEOs. They've been recently divorced, and so they now find themselves to be single fathers who are also in charge of, let's say, a medium-sized companies, and they are 50 years of age, and their problem is X, and I help them solve that problem. So you see, that level of knowing that you're serving a single male who is a male who's a CEO, who's, let's say, 50 years, recently divorced, and therefore a single father with X problem, is very different from the kind of person who comes in and says, "Oh, I help all single daddies." You know, it's because a single daddy who's on welfare is very different from a single daddy who's a 50-year-old CEO. Two very different people. And so being able to know exactly who your client is something that, even for professionals, it can take them a while to figure that out. Sometimes you get to know who that client is through testing, and there are methods to do this, and that's part of what we look into with this triangle of execution. So knowing who your client is very, very important, and very few entrepreneurs know who their client is. And once you figure out who your client is, once you're clear on that, all of a sudden a whole new world opens up. So that's one problem that this triangle of execution solves. The second problem is what? Now you know who your client is, you're better able to understand what their problem is. Okay? So you can now define what your solution to them is. I don't know whether you've heard that, a saying that goes that, you know, if you build it and expect that they will just come, they won't come. Build it and they will come doesn't work. What you gotta do is find who they are, ask them, what do you want? What do you need? What's your problem? What's that itch you've got that I can help you scratch? Once they tell you that, then you customize your solution to fit exactly what they want. So give them what they want. Okay, that is the what. So the triangle of execution helps you answer the who and then the what. And just those two will make a significant difference to your downline, to your bottom line, your finances, your reach and your impact. Just knowing those two things, just those two things. Okay, this is what keeps roughly half a billion, not sorry, not half a billion, roughly 300 million entrepreneurs around the world at level 1 and 2, like stuck. Okay, they're just stuck. They can't seem to, they say, "Oh, I keep trying to sell my product, but no one seems to be buying it." The reason why is because the what and the who are still very vague. And let me give you a quick example of a company that we probably all know about, or have heard about, that have really clearly figured out who their who is and what their what is. Do you know Domino's Pizza? Domino's Pizza has nailed what they're selling us. They're selling us cheap pizza, like cheap, quick, instant pizza. And they're selling it to the person who can afford a certain level of pizza. Not the person who wants gourmet pizza, who wants expensive pizza, who wants very nice homemade pizza. No, they want the fast takeaway pizza person, and they don't want anybody else. They don't want to sell you anything else. They want to sell you candy. They don't want to sell you grated, they're very clear. And there are many, many other examples we can come up with that of companies that have figured that out very, very clearly. Okay, so figuring out the who and the what is the first level of problems that the conscious entrepreneur solves. Then the next thing, once you figure out who your who is, you need to find where they hang out, and that's called the tribe. Then you sort of need to become their tribe leader, or one of their tribe leaders, or one of the influencers of that tribe. They need to know you, like you, and trust you. So other people similar to your perfect client. Okay, that's the next level of challenge of growing your business, figuring that out. And there are very specific methods that are there to figure this out. And as you can see, we're building this up, right? So now let's talk about the next level of the next thing that the triangle of execution helps you figure out. Now, look at this diagram. All we've done is zoom out a little bit more, right? What I've done is, around the entrepreneur, the blue guy there with the word you on him, I've drawn a little cloud, like a orange brownish cloud. And that cloud, I've written the word resistance around that cloud. Okay, so let's talk about that, only that for now, the resistance. So an entrepreneur, and as I speak, please think about your own life if you've ever faced these challenges. An entrepreneur is a human being. And as all human beings, we all have thoughts, we all have emotions, we all have a body, and we all have spirit. Okay. Now, the problem that we all face as human beings is that we tend to fight ourselves. We have a component of being human called the ego. Okay. The ego. The ego is that sense of a separate self. And it is that thing that is programmed from when you're born. It is conditioned by your society, by your parents, your neighbors, your teachers, your friends, relatives, your government, your education, whatever. So you're kind of programmed and you're conditioned into a certain way. So you carry a sense of self, a self-identity, and so a self-view, a way you view yourself, and a worldview, the way you view your world. This whole thing, that sort of this is me, that's what we call me, that this is me tends to get in our way when it comes to achieving things. Okay, now I'm not going to go into the details of all that right now. I just want to bring to your attention that we all as human beings have thoughts and emotions that are counterproductive to what it is that we're trying to do. Okay, for example, we might feel not good enough, we might have imposter syndrome, we might feel might have self-worth and self-esteem issues. We might think that, we might have a scarcity mindset. We might have overblown fears. We might have whatever it is, traumas, blah, blah, blah. So this whole sum total is what we're calling resistance. It pulls us down. It keeps us blind. It keeps us hidden, and it keeps us small, and so on. So it's kind of like going through life with our brakes on. Okay. What we need to do is release our brakes. Okay, literally we give you strategies to be able to switch around your thoughts and your emotions, so that instead of them holding you back, they push you forward. They empower you instead of pulling you back, and so on. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about about that over here is spirit. Now, spirit is a thing that it's difficult to define, just like it's hard to define what love is, or what the creator is, or God is, or and so on. It's hard to define, but the point is this: as a human being, we can either hold allegiance. In other words, we can pledge our loyalty to either our ego or our spirit, our divinity, that which is greater than us, that is still us. Okay, so the ego is what we call the small self, and spirit is what we call the true self, the infinite, unconditioned, untethered soul. So we have a choice. This is what free will is all about: choosing allegiance or loyalty to believing our ego, which is just going to fill us with fear and limitations and survival mode, because that's what ego is for. So the more our allegiance is to ego, the harder a time we'll have, and vice versa. But it's not always that clear. Spirit is one of those things that is not logical. So, for example, the statement that good people always, are always financially successful, and bad people find problems in finances. We all know that's not true. Sometimes we find the most evil people doing well, and some of the best nice people not doing well. So spirit is not about logical statements, and we'll get into that. Spirit is about revealing your true nature, and sometimes that's a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. But anyways, just keeping it light, I just wanted to mention that this is one of the things that the conscious entrepreneur deals with: the resistance around you. Okay, because once you clear that, once you release your brakes, all of a sudden, boom, you're no longer being pulled down, you're no longer being blinded, you're no longer keeping yourself small and hidden, and so on. You're all of a sudden, you're just an empowered human being. Can you imagine going through life flying versus going through life crawling while dragging rocks and baggage? So that's the difference that this makes. Okay, now The other brown shading that you can see over here is around, the solution, problem, the client, and the tribe. I've drawn another, brown kind of circle over there, and that one I've labeled as confusion and overwhelm. What happens is that as business people, we don't know what to do first or last. We come across, look, I've got a business degree. I have an international business, a degree in international business, and I would spend 4 years learning a whole bunch of random stuff. And then I've been to seminars and I've read books and I've done, there's so much stuff out there, and everything is telling you do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And so we're overwhelmed, and at the same time we're confused. Which one do I do first? And then there's like a list of 500 things to do in a day where there is only time to do two of them. So we're like always like out of time or out of this or out of that or whatever, man. It just gets crazy, right? And then we're like trying to do everything, and we're trying to like master everything, and we find that we don't have skills in most things. We only have skills in a few things, blah blah blah. So there's a lot of confusion and overwhelm, right? And so that's another area that the triangle of execution looks at solving, clearing up all that confusion and clearing up all that overwhelm. And the way it does it, very briefly, because this is an introduction video, the way it does it, if you look at this diagram, what I've done is I've shaded the part that's about you, the entrepreneur, in a sort of like black outline, dashed outline, and I've labeled that as the driver. So the triangle of execution helps the driver release their brakes and get out of their own way. So it will help you release your brakes, get out of your own way. And then there's another black shaded dotted or dashed box around the the problem, solution, the who, the what, and the tribe, and the client, and all that sort of stuff. And that one I've labeled it the vehicle. Okay, the vehicle is literally the business. Okay, and the driver is the entrepreneur. Does that make sense? So the business is the vehicle, okay, that allows the driver, the entrepreneur, to deliver solutions to the clients and get paid. So that's the business, that's the vehicle, okay? And the vehicle has so many, or could have so many moving parts, the products and services, sales, marketing, promotions, delivery, the finance team, operations, tools, strategies, tactics. So again, that's a whole bunch of things. So the solution to this is to look at building, a well-oiled machine. Okay, are you with me? Building a well-oiled machine. So it's a machine. It's no longer, it's no longer you trying to do everything. It's letting the machine do things for you. Okay, did you see the difference? A lot of entrepreneurs are trying to do everything manually by themselves. Like they wake up in the morning and they do a to-do list and they just get bloody busy. Okay, whereas the guys who are really cool, the girls who are really cool and cruising and flowing, they're not lazy, but they got a machine, and it's the machine that they still work, right? But they're not like they're not it's not a personality that's kind of like dealing with business. It is a machine that's dealing with business. So for example, think of your favorite companies. It could be anything that you use. It could be anything where you go to eat. Like let me not say that. Let's look at like well-known companies like Apple. There's I'm mentioning big ones because that way we'll all know them. Okay, companies like Apple or Microsoft or Facebook or like we say, Domino's or Coca-Cola or whatever. Whenever we use these products and services, we do interact with people. Okay, but Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook is not every day trying to like run the machine. It's the machine itself that's sort of like running things, and Mark Zuckerberg is over there kind of like directing the orchestra. So you can have this, even if you're a solopreneur, you can build a business machine. Even if you're a solopreneur, even if you're a single or sole operator, you can still build a business machine instead of trying to do everything yourself. Okay, there's a big difference between being self-employed and being a business owner. So what the Conscious Entrepreneur's Triangle of Execution does is to teach you to be a business owner rather than being a self-employed hustler. Okay, and this is what allows you to free your time, to calm down all that stress, to have better self-care, to grow, to attract better clients, better, team players, and so on, all that sort of stuff. And the way you build a business machine is to use a few simple but effective models. So we look at those things, simple and effective models. So you're not trying to like throw in things randomly, everything that they teach in an MBA randomly, just chucking it in there, or anything you read in a book, just chuck it in there. So in other words, the vehicle is not like it's not a laboratory for all your ideas. It's not a place where it's not a dumping ground for all your crazy ideas. There's a few simple models you can follow, and they'll dramatically simplify life for you. Okay, and that's again one of the things we talk about with the triangle of execution. Right. So moving on, the once entrepreneur has started their journey and they have managed to go through that startup, the next thing that they're interested in is growing. They don't all want to grow and become super big monsters. Some of them just want to grow enough to be able to be comfortable. Okay. And some of them are trying to be big, super big monsters. So some of them want to stay as a small business. Some of them want to become medium sized businesses. Some of them want to become large scale enterprises. Doesn't matter. The point is, that phase of desire after startup is called growth and scaling. Okay. Now, with growth, the basic idea is get more clients, serve more people, have a bigger impact, and increase your revenues. And this is supposed to go with time, theoretically. But what happens is a whole bunch of growing pains comes in, growing pains such as burnout, or, resources seem to be exhausted. Like you hear a lot of business people saying, oh, I don't have enough money to grow, or whatever. They get stressed, they get burnt out, they things break down, and so on. So there's a whole bunch of growing pains that come in. And also you hear other entrepreneurs talk about being stuck. They hit a glass ceiling. They seem to reach a place where no matter what they do, they can't seem to get bigger. They seem to hit some kind of a limit. Okay, they seem to get stuck, and so on. So the way the triangle of execution solves this is to realize that this growth is not random. It has levels. Okay, and precisely there are 9 levels that an entrepreneur goes through, and each level gives you a particular thing to do to get to the next level. So for example, the things that you need to get from level 4 to 5 are very different from the things that you need to get from level 1 to 2. So when you're at level 1, you don't even need to think about the things that go into level 4 or level 5. Even if you've read about them, or you know about them from, whatever, doesn't matter. Even if you know that they exist and you would know how to do them, you still should not do them until you complete the things that are needed for level 1. And then you move to level 2 and level 3. Yeah. Now, sometimes once in a while, you get that, things go simultaneously, but you get the general idea that, it's a step-by-step progression. And this is what we're calling the map. Okay. The map are those 9 levels. Now, when you put all that together, you realize that you have the driver, which is the entrepreneur, you, the vehicle, which is your business machine, and the map, which is how does the driver and the vehicle move along time to grow predictably and with minimal suffering and minimal amount of struggle and time and waste of money and waste of energy and so on. How does that happen? So all these 3 kind of end up working together. Okay. For example, the driver. Okay. The kind of resistance an entrepreneur faces at level one, okay, of their journey as an entrepreneur is very different from the kind of resistance they'll face at level five. At level one, they're dealing with very different problems, which a level five person would be dealing with, from which a level five entrepreneur would be dealing with. And also, the thing that made an entrepreneur go from level one to two, from startup to starting to get the wheels going and everything, those good habits and good practices might be the exact ones to not do at level four and five. You see what I'm saying? So at level one, usually an entrepreneur is like, the jack of all trades. They wear all the hats and they're doing everything to launch usually. But once you reach level three and four, you better stop that, because that'll burn you out and kill you. So it's time to switch gears and start understanding team dynamics, team building, systems, automations, and so on. And so the resistance type also changes. And it really doesn't matter. All you need to know is how do you handle any kind of resistance, regardless. So you see, all these things start to blend in. The driver, the map, the vehicle. The reason why I broke it up this way, if you talk to most entrepreneurs who've succeeded at different levels, some of them don't even know how to tell you how to get there, because they did it, but they've become so good at it that they've gone into what we call unconscious competence. They're so competent that they're unable to teach it. They're unable to break it down, or they'll give you a very, like, kind of like vague thing, like, keep going hard and make sure you treat your people well, and they don't give you an exact plan. I needed for myself to find a way of breaking down these things so that I can apply them to my businesses, because like I said, I've been an entrepreneur for since I was maybe 16, 15, 16. I was already trying stuff. Maybe even before that, I was dreaming stuff. And I just turned 45 couple of weeks ago. So I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life, to be honest. And over time, you start to realize I don't need to make the same damn mistakes over and over again. I need some kind of map here. Or you realize wow, looking back, I found a map, or whatever it is. So I started to put together things and to simplify them, just so I can do my own businesses easier. And I thought I would share it with people. So the things that you're gonna learn in this course are not necessarily new. There's somebody somewhere doing these things. Like, I didn't invent these things. There are very few people doing these things. There's pretty much nobody I know who's teaching it like this. But what I'm trying to say is that if you have a hell of a lot of time, because this took me a lot of time to put together, man. It took me, I would say, a couple of decades, like looking back, and at least a year looking back, when I now deliberately decided to collect all my decades of experience into something like this, into like a model like this. So if you have that time, you will find these things. You'll find different people doing different things. Like, you'll find Russell Brunson of ClickFunnels teaching one thing, and then you'll find, you'll find there's so many people out there doing, Richard Branson will speak about this thing over here, and then another person will address another topic over there, and then so on and so on. There's so many people, and each they got their own little angle, but to put it all together, that's the hard part. That's the hard part. So I hope you enjoy this, because this is something very, very rare. I haven't seen anyone talking about it like this, and I hope you'll enjoy it. And I hope it will actually solve a lot of your problems as an entrepreneur and create amazingly cool opportunities of growth for you, and give you satisfaction and more peace of mind, and also personal growth. So thank you very much. Let's get into it.